Hello and welcome. Welcome to the ISP Core 16 First Look. My name is Gary Blouse. I'm the National Sales Manager with Storm Audio. Joining me on this webinar is going to be my counterpart, Matthew Trinklein. Matthew, are you there?
I am. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Matt. So what we want to do today is we want to give you really kind of an intimate look at the ISP Core 16. We're going to do this fairly quickly. The basics we want to kind of relay about the ISP Core 16 is is really what defines it as a product, and we feel that this is really a game changer when it comes to this price point that we're bringing the product in at, which is at $12,000 retail. So you might be asking, okay, so what's really cool about ISP Core 16? Let's talk about the basics. The first thing is it is by its name, Core. It has a core subset of our pillars that really define who Storm Audio is. Let's start with the first one, which is we are known for our upgradability and the ability to basically have a product that's future proof. And that's something that we've demonstrated in our Mark II line of processors. And of course, those have been widely received by most dealers, and we've run, of course, a bunch of awards with this as well. So how do you take a technology that's that's in the $16,000 to $20,000 price point and bring it down into a $12,000 price point? And that's what we want to talk about today. So ISP Core 16 certainly has a bunch of trickle-down technology that happens from the MK2 series of products. But again, true to its name, the core things that define us are part of who it is. So again, as far as the upgrade path, let's talk about that. Its upgradability is limited to its HDMI section. So it basically shares the same upgrade path for HDMI that our current MK2 path or MK2 processors have. In fact, it actually shares exactly the same video card. That's the other thing. So if you're wondering how great the HDMI performance is going to be, it's going to be just as good as what our current HDMI abilities are with the MK2 processors. Also, core to who we are is the ability to really remove the room from the equation in a theater. And what I mean by that is we offer a wide set of calibration tools in our Mark II platform, and all of those tools are available in the ISP Core 16 platform. So we're bringing down into that price point things like PEQs, active crossovers, direct live. So all of those things are built in. But there are some differences as well, and we certainly want to talk about that. Also it has the feature sets that you've come to know and love from us, which is the ability to integrate third-party control systems, the ability to have it be part of a multi-zone audio system through Roon. And again, the ISP Core 16 is Roon ready as well. So let's go ahead and talk about what these differences are. Matt, do you want to help me with this? I mean, really, what makes an ISP Core 16 different?
Yeah, Gary, thank you for that. I'd love to. And while we're on the topic, Gary, would you go ahead and open the ISP Core 16 cut sheet for me? Now, to everybody following along at home, in your GoToWebinar control panel, there's a section near the bottom called Handouts. It's just above the chat. And if you click on that, it'll open up a section with a PDF file, and you can actually download this and have it along at home. So you can use it for your reference as well. Now, as we can see here, we've got two great images of the ISP Core 16. The first one of the front panel here showing the new display, including the VU meters, and we'll take a more closer in-depth look at that later. And then we have an image of the rear panel of the chassis of the unit. Now, we can see here that there is the same HDMI board as Gary mentioned that is in the MK2, and this is also upgradable. So when the HDMI 2.1 board comes in early 2022, you'll be able to go ahead and swap that directly into this unit. The next thing we'll notice is that we've got almost the same inputs that we have for the MK2 series, with the exception of the XLR balanced ins. But everything other than that is the same. What's really important to notice here on the rear panel is that you don't have the option for the upgraded outputs. So we cannot upgrade this to a 24 or a 32 channel unit, nor do we have the ability to install any of our digital input or output options that we have available for the MK2 lines. So if the project requires that, you will still have to stick with the MK2 brand, making the ISP Core 16 for some of those smaller projects, but still offering all of the same great horsepower that we have for the MK2. Now let's go ahead and talk about that. We've got the 16-channel XLR balanced outputs here. That's driven by the same DAC board that's in the MK2, so you can expect the same great audio performance as you've come to love from that product. The other thing that we've got in here is the exact same DSPs that we have on board with the MK2. There's just less of them. So we still have the ability to do our, there we go. We still have the ability to do our 20 PEQs per channel, all of the active crossover management. So all of that DSP horsepower that really helps us fine tune and dial in a system is still built into this product. We still have, as Gary mentioned, the ability to do room correction with the lovely Dirac Live 3 platform. The main difference here being that when you get the Core 16 as it comes straight from the factory, you will not have access to the Dirac Live bass control add-on. That is the full bass optimization, the bass management module that Dirac Live employs. So that is available. You can put that into the Core 16 and it'll be part of an optional license package that we will be selling separately. Now there's a couple other things that are included in that. It's not just the Dirac Live bass control add-on. The other thing that's included in there is the flexible bass routing for Storm Audio's expert bass management. So while you'll still have access to the expert bass management and all those fine-tuned settings to be able to really dial in your system, you won't have the ability to have the 6 bass zones. You will be limited to 1. Once again, that is optional though. If you choose to do the optional license package, you will get those other 6 bass zones. The other 2 things that are part of that are 2 things that you guys have not seen before that we're very excited to talk about. One of them is the Storm XT Ambience Expander. Now that is not an upmixer setting. It's actually something that's totally different. It's proprietary that Storm Audio's come up with. And we're going to be covering what that is in a later webinar that's going to cover the 4.2 firmware, and that'll be happening later this month. Then the last part about that is something that we're really excited to share, and that's the HDMI matrixing function. And that's going to allow you to have 2 separate video streams from 2 separate sources in 2 zones. So this is going to really impact the functionality of both the ISP Core 16 and the MK2 and be able to handle a lot of different applications that haven't been able to do before. Now let's take a look at what the actual configurator for this looks like. And we got it up right here, thanks to Gary. So
hey, Matt, hey, Matt, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. I got a question for you because I know everybody's going to be asking this. Do they have to buy the licenses?
No, by all means. The ISP Core 16 by itself, straight from the factory, is a fully powerful unit that can handle a lot of things. You're just losing a very fine tunability and some advanced features with the optional license. So for the majority of your projects out there, you could probably get by without using it. But there are, of course, improved features that are available if you do. So first thing you guys are going to notice here is that we are giving you a teaser of the 4.2 R0 software. And we've got licenses over here. And you can see now that we have bass routing and Storm XT here, and they are not activated. Activating, should you choose to do so, is really simple. We send you an encrypted file from the factory in France that is hard-coded to the serial number for your unit. And all you do is load that here at the load license page, and then it becomes activated immediately. No need for firmware upgrade, anything like that. But as you can see, everything else is very much similar as what it looks like on the MK2. Being that this is the new 4.2 firmware, there are a couple new things that have changed. So we're going to give you a little sneak peek at that, and we'll take a look at what our theater looks like now. So this is something the team in France has been working very hard on, and we're very appreciative of them for that. So we now have a lovely 3D rendering as you're building your room of what the theater and your channel count is going to look like.
Now that's pretty cool, Matt.
It is. Well, we're very appreciative of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the front panel. Gary, I hand it off to you.
Okay, well, I am already set up for that. And let me just get the camera going again. And we've got a lot to show you on the front panel. I mean, there's a lot going on here. And let me start by saying that the new front panel has the ability to do colors and graphics. And I would say that I think this is probably going to find its way into the Mark II platform pretty soon. So navigation of the menu system in the ISP Core 16 is slightly different than the edit buttons and things that we have on the Mark II processors. So we want to show you that a little bit. And the first thing you'll notice is that right now I've got it in the VU meter mode, and that we've got actually an independent VU meter for each of the 16 channels that are being represented in this theater. Now I've got 2 in the back that they're not doing anything wide channels, but everything else is represented. This gives you the ability right at the face of the unit to actually do some troubleshooting. If you have any problems with signal and whether you're getting any signal, into the speakers, you can easily see it here on the front panel. I'm going to go ahead and select the little square button, and that's going to bring up our menu. And now our navigation's done a little differently. We're going to use the up and down arrows, and you'll notice that I'm going to go up and down until I get to our up mixers, and then I'm going to use the volume knob to make the adjustments. And you'll notice that I can move through our different up mixers. Once you've selected the up mixer you want, you select there, and you're ready to go. And it does quite a bit more than that even. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Gary, quick question. Being that it's one of the first thing that, integrators and dealers are after you once they get this thing installed and set up, and I noticed there's not an edit button anymore, how do we get to the network and system settings now?
Absolutely. So that's actually done again through our navigation. So we're going to go ahead and navigate down to our settings screen. All right, and that's all the way at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to go ahead and choose, you notice we've got display, network, and system. I'm going to go to the network, and then of course there is all your information right there. There's your IP address. We can even go back and go down and see what level of, we can see the serial number, the firmware level through all the system information. All of that's accessible by the dealer. And then once we back out, the unit will come back out into normal operation mode.
Thanks, Gary. And hey, just real quick, I want to note this for everybody at home. In order to properly show the front panel here, we are lighting the front of the unit. So you're not going to have as much of a reflective face of the aluminum in a proper setting in a home. Just wanted to point that out to everybody.
Absolutely.
And I think this unit comes with a remote for the first time. Can we see that, Gary?
Absolutely. So included in the box is a handheld remote. Bear with me, let me get it zoomed in. You'll notice that, and of course, you can control every aspect of the ISP Core 16. Volume attenuation, preset adjustment can be done. Any of your input, any of your up mixer choices can be done there as well. So it makes it very easy to control the unit if you just need to use a handheld remote. But the good news is that you still get all of the same control options that you get with the ISP with the Mark II platform, and that includes all of our third-party control drivers. And also, Matt, don't we have some new apps that we want to tell them about?
We do. So we also now have the mobile app available for both iPhone and Android platforms. So that's really excited. Have had a lot of great feedback about that. It's very useful. I know Gary and I myself have been using it for a while and have been just very pleased with it. And I also wanted to note real quick that I also saw on that remote that there was a Storm XT ambience expander button. So you have that control as well as your regular up mixers. So that's very fantastic. Now we want to go ahead and open the floor for questions, I think. Gary?
Yep. So if you look into the control for GoToWebinar, you can enter questions. If you have any questions for us now, go ahead and type them in, and we'll go ahead and answer them.
The Storm. What does the XT do? So Storm XT Ambience Expander is a proprietary algorithm Storm Audio has come up with that is going to pull out ambience material from the mix and include it in channels that are not being utilized. So it functions a little bit differently than an up mixer, and we're not going to do an extremely deep dive on that because it's going to be covered in a webinar later this month.
Actually, early next month, because the later
early
this
next month, excuse me.
That's okay. So we're also being asked what the margin is on the product. The margin is our normal margin. We're not going to get it since we may have some end users that are on this watching this video. We won't get into the exact percentages, but again, it is the same margin as we have in our MK2 line of products. Any other questions? We'll go ahead and give it just a minute longer. All right, folks. Thank you very much for joining us on our webinar here and our first look of the ISP Core 16. If you have any questions, please reach out to your sales team or directly to a Storm Audio staff member. And again, thank you very much for joining us today. Goodbye.